Hello, this is Justin Bosnich. I will be presenting my presentation on Max Weber's types of authority. The powers of authority. In the 1900s, Max Weber developed an idea of power and its influence on societies of a nation-state. The one type of power that we will be focusing on in this presentation is authority. Authority can be described as an elected institutionalized power with specific influence over those who acknowledge and recognize it. According to Weber, there are three types of authority: traditional, rational legal, and charismatic. The first authority we will be covering is traditional authority. Traditional authority is known to be an authority that is assigned by society's beliefs and traditional customs. It is a long-standing tradition for those who practice traditional authority. Individuals of such societies often believe that the authority is bestowed upon their leaders by higher power, royal bloodlines, or age of the member. An example of traditional authority can be the kings of England, uh, the king of Saudi Arabia, the czars of Russia, an elder member of a tribe. The picture on the right is King William. Those who inherit this power are not always qualified for the position because their claim to power is solely due to their bloodline or divine appointment. Due to the royalty ruling over the lower class, there is a disparity in equality in these societies. In addition, the reigning leader can be benevolent or violent, intelligent or ignorant, temperamental or calm due to the inheritance, and no merit-based requirements. Depending on the nation, the power of these authorities can be absolute or constitutional. The next authority is rational legal authority, which is derived from agreed upon laws and beliefs from the governmental system. Those who acquire authority through rational legal means are usually elected by other members of their society. The powers bestowed upon those who are elected are limited to their specific position and overarching laws and policies of the nation. Due to an election process, leaders from rational legal authorities are usually more qualified and competent for their positions than leaders from traditional authorities. A few examples of rational legal authorities are members of the U.S. Congress, members of Parliament in the UK, U.S. presidents. Rational legal authority presents a fair and equal process where most members of this society have voting power. Additionally, limitations are placed on leaders through laws and policies to prevent abuse of power. The downside to rational legal authority is the increasing complexities presented by the enormous amounts of laws and policies. The communication between large bureaucracies can also cause decision-making and policy changing to be slower and require more effort to achieve. The last authority is charismatic authority, which is described as a power created through a leader's personal and emotional appeal to their followers. Leaders of charismatic authority often have very faithful and loyal followers, which can allow them to bend rules without question. These charismatic figures can create drastic change in their societies because of the devout following they can amass. Due to the personal and singular power of charismatic authority, when the leader dies, the authority dies also. The strong connection obtained through personal and emotional charm can only be wielded by the charismatic leader. Although charismatic leaders can gather the adoration and following of their people, it does not always mean they possess a virtuous morality. Some examples of charismatic leaders with a good moral character are Joan of Arc, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi. In opposition, a few examples of charismatic leaders with bad morality are Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. As shown by the leaders above, the rise of authoritarianism is a risk of charismatic leadership. Okay, so now we're going to go over which type of authority is the most ideal. Here's a pros and cons chart of each authority. Traditional The pros are stability. Everything's going to stay the same. Nothing changes much. Cultural acceptance. Everyone agrees upon this. It's tradition. There's a clear hierarchy. People know where they are. Um, quick decision making. Since the king's in charge, usually it's one person ruling everyone else. The cons. They're less likely to change things that are wrong. Um, there's inequality, obviously, because there's hierarchies. Um, limited accountability. Nobody's going to overthrow the king except for maybe their heirs. And the leaders can vary in competency because there's no merit-based system. For rational legal, the pros are equality and fairness. It's predictable because they have laid out laws and policies. The leaders are usually merit-based because they're voted on, and they usually get put into positions that they're good at. And there's also accountability. So they can be kicked out if they're treacherous or act of treason. They could be voted out. Cons for rational legal, slow decision making. There's a lot of levels that bills have to go through to pass. Voting can take a while too. It's very impersonal, machine-like, and it's very complex because there's a lot of levels to it. Now for charismatic authority, the pros are it's very inspiring and motivating for the people. Everyone wants to get behind it. Um, since it's one leader, they're very flexible. They can turn on a dime. They can make a lot of changes. Um, and the other thing is a strong connection to the base. Everyone loves them. It's easy to get things done. The cons of charismatic authority are instability. If they die, the movement dies with them usually. There's a risk of authoritarianism and lack of structure because like there's no laws behind any of this. It's just a person. So, in my opinion, I believe the most effective form of government is rational legal authority. Although rational legal authority is not perfect, I believe it presents the fairest form of authority and prevents authoritarianism. When comparing rational legal to the other two authorities, rational legal authority gives rise to leaders who are qualified to lead, while the other two can vary in merit and competency. Rational legal also provides a moderate amount of stability, whereas charismatic authority is prone to instability. When necessary, rational legal can also make changes to laws, while traditional authorities stick to tradition and usually avoid change. One of rational legal authority's efficiencies is preventing drastic changes. Laws and policies prevent leaders from making drastic decisions without approval. Example, War Powers Resolution of 1973 created a law that prevents the U.S. president from initiating and escalating military action abroad without U.S. Congress's approval. This example demonstrates the restraint and caution rational legal authority has over traditional and charismatic authority. Traditional authorities can usually bypass the will of their people with their absolute power, and charismatic leaders can also push past laws and opposing resistance with overwhelming support of their followers. Now we will be going over accountability, laws and policies removing undesirable officials. An example is Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. This section of the U.S. Constitution allows for the removal of U.S. officials if the House of Representatives and Senate find the official guilty. Traditional authorities are unlikely to be replaced because they are usually chosen to lead by divinity. The only ones who can replace them are family of direct bloodline. Charismatic leaders are difficult to remove because their following will fight back against resistance. Authoritarian leaders can rise, and opposition can be killed or jailed. Another efficiency is enforcing equality. Laws and policies and rational legal authorities can create and reinforce equality and fairness throughout society. Example, Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination based on race, color, gender, religion, and national origin. Although MLK Jr. was the charismatic leader who led the movement for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the rational legal authorities like President JFK and LBJ allowed for those changes to solidify and become permanent laws with which society must follow. To this day, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 continues to protect individuals regardless of their social status, appearance, or beliefs. Traditional authorities believe in hierarchies, so equality and fairness are non-existent. Charismatic authorities vary in views on equality, so they can have very virtuous ideals or extremely vile ideals. So, in conclusion, rational legal authority demonstrates the best form of authority because of an overarching framework that creates a balanced form of stability, a merit-based leadership. Actions must be within the law. There is cooperative decision making. Laws and policies tend to give universal rights, and checks and balances prevent corruption and keep officials accountable. These are my references, and thank you for your time.